Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Booktube Chicks Book Club for the month of July. Tonight we're going to be talking about Dear Emmie Blue by Leah Lois or Lewis. And if you've never been to one of our live shows before, as usual, I am here with Desiree and Kathleen, who are going to introduce themselves in just a few minutes. Excuse me. But the first couple of minutes is going to be introductions and just initial thoughts on the book and our rating. No spoilers. That'll be for about first 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to go into spoilers for this book and just talk about our full thoughts. So Desiree, since you're right next to me, do you want to go ahead and start?
Yep. Hi, my name is Desiree. You can find me at Libri Labra on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, YouTube. And this was my pick for the month. And it took me a little bit to kind of get into it. And I was listening to the audiobook and I was also reading the ebook. And there's the narrator has an accent. Not that that was a problem or anything, but they are overseas. And I gave it a 4, and I really ended up liking it by the end. I thought it was interesting. It was in first person. There was a lot of character growth. There was kind of a lot of things going on. There was some funny bits. I feel like the supporting characters were really good, and there was no smut, but there was still a bit of romance and butterflies, and I don't know, I liked it.
I'm Kathleen. My channel's for the love books. I didn't hate this book, but I didn't love it. I did give this book 3 stars. I did enjoy parts of it. I think my issue, the same with Desiree, I had both the ebook and the audiobook in front of me. I was listening on my phone and reading on my iPad. So I did enjoy parts of the book. I liked our main character. I liked that. At first I didn't, but I liked the character growth that she had towards the end, and I liked that she matured because I found her super whiny at the beginning. Overall, I'm not gonna lie, I found this book to be very boring, and normally I really love books that are really character driven, and this is a very character driven book. It's not plot driven by any means, but I felt the book was just very bland to me personally. I just found it very bland and boring. I Aside from our main character, I felt like I couldn't really relate to any of the characters. I just couldn't connect with them. And because this is a plot driven book, a character driven book, maybe that was my issue. But I really tried, because in the beginning I was kind of into it, and then a lot of things just started happening, and it just kind of sort of started losing interest in the book. And I really wanted to like it because it had really, really good reviews, and a lot of people say that if you enjoy character driven books, you're going to really love this. And I didn't, and I really wish I did. But overall, like I said, I didn't necessarily hate it. I did give it 3 stars. I do feel like that's more of a generous rating. I'm hovering around a 2.5, but I'll leave it my 3.
And my name is Chloe. You are on my channel. I did not really enjoy this book. I gave it 2.5 stars. And for me, at the end, I was kind of like, should I give it a 3, or is it feeling more like a 2.5? I settled on the 2.5 because it didn't feel like a 2 and it didn't feel like a 3 for me. For me, a 3 is it was okay. And a 2 is I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. But I anticipated enjoying this book more than I did, but ultimately I feel like I fall in the same boat as Kat, where I was just very bored for a lot of it. Probably at about like 30% of the way through, 35%, I was realizing, this is a coming of age story. However, it just wasn't interesting to me. and I think this is kind of going into spoiler territory, so I guess we'll start there. But the whole thing, like on the back of the book, is she set off this red balloon when she was 16, and her best friend, or her present day best friend, is the one who found it and emailed her initially. I thought we were going to get more of that backstory a bit. Like I think I would have liked this book a lot more if it had gone time jumping, and if we had had some more scenes in the past. I think I would have been a lot more interested in finding more about that. Like, was there a specific point that we could have followed that got her to setting off the red balloon and stuff like that? So we'll just go right into spoilers with that.
So they mention what had her set off the red balloon, which was the whole thing with the teacher.
But I feel like I wanted more of like scenes like in the past with it. You know what I'm saying?
I think I understand what you mean. Like them like connecting and then them getting to know each other and then her explaining the reasoning behind the balloon, blah blah blah. I understand what you mean. Yeah.
I think that's what I was expecting, is like go like a time jumping kind of thing.
Yeah.
There weren't any like official time jump things, but I feel like the CD breakdowns were kind of supposed to provide that backstory to show them like starting to connect. And then of course like it starts with her being like madly in love with Lucas.
But now we know that even the CDs are a lie.
I'm sorry, but that whole beginning, I understand being in love with your best friend, but the way she, like, I understand the point of the book is that it's this huge unrequited love and that she's held on to these feelings for years. But I was so frustrated. I was like, girl, just say something. Just tell him. And that's just me. I don't personally, in her place, I don't know if I would have said something. So I probably would have been that person who's just super frustrating, held on to their feelings for so long. But in the beginning, when they were like, and she was freaking out because he asked her to be his best woman, whatever it was called, I was just like, why didn't you just tell him? I mean, the worst he can do is reject you and never talk to you again, but still.
But I mean, what was kind of wild is like, how were you in a friendship for this long and then you think he's gonna propose?
Right, that too. And I was like, you've been
first. Like,
you've been friends for so long. There was never any romance between you. You just been friends. Why do you assume that you're gonna just jump from friendship to a proposal? I'm like, who does that? I'm sorry. I was like, when I was reading that say, I was like, am I missing something here? Are they dating? Like, it just sounds like they're friends. And then I'm like, and also, if he's been friends with you this whole time, you know that there's a girlfriend. Why would you assume that he's proposing to you and not the girlfriend? For me, I mean, if I was sitting, I wouldn't automatically jump, oh, he's proposing to me. I'm automatically thinking, oh, maybe he's broken up with her and that would make my day, you know what I mean? But no, that was I just thought the whole thing was funny. I was like, I think she's a little delulu, but that's fine.
I mean, she was definitely in a dream world to start off there.
Well, towards the end, like, so I'm going to jump way forward towards the end. And when she was supposed to go to see Rosie, but then she ended up going to see Lucas instead. I keep thinking his name is Luke, but Lucas. And then he ended up, one, kissing her while he's engaged, and two, what did he lie
did he
about?
kiss her or did he almost kiss her?
Yeah.
No, they kissed.
Oh, I thought it was an almost kiss. Okay.
But also he said, like, he lied about something, and I'm blanking on what it was right now. It wasn't the music.
First of all, he wasn't even that great of a friend.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, she was just like infatuated with him because she believed that he was Balloon Boy. She was really, really in love with Balloon Boy, is essentially what the deal was.
Well, see, the thing is, now I can't remember what he admitted to while she was there that time. Not the CD.
He basically told her that him and his fiance had that they had just gotten into a fight, but it was similar to another fight that they had that was really big, because they were on a break and he called somebody that he worked with or texted her or something, and he had told his fiance that he hadn't texted her, that like,
Okay, so he's kind of really just a piece of crap.
yeah, like there's lots of lies all over the place.
Yeah, that, and then kissing her while he's engaged, like he's getting married in 2 weeks. And then we jump forward to her, like the wedding and her doing her speech. I feel like, yeah, it kind of would have been a dick move to like pull out of the wedding that fast. However, I feel like I wouldn't have talked to him anymore after that. I'd be like, no, absolutely not.
I think they had too much history for it to be that kind of a be done with it kind of a thing. I mean, she was like, they were both pretty confused. Like, he was just like, oh my God, I don't want to lose her. I don't want to whatever. And I feel like that's why he kissed her. It was just like a panicky moment. I don't think he necessarily like was trying to bang her or anything. But he just seems like really flighty, just flighty as a friend, flighty as a significant other, just like flighty in general. And then also has bad taste in music. I think it was a little weird that like she gifted the CDs back, or at least that's what she thought she was doing.
Why?
Yeah, well, I feel like that gift did feel like way more than just a friendship gift, if that makes sense. I feel like it was like, I know the fiance was like pretty cool, but it felt more like, here's all this history between the two of us that I'm giving you.
Which seems like really shitty, but it didn't feel like it was written with shitty intent. Like, it felt like it was written sincerely, like it was a sincere gift, but I have trouble with how somebody would interpret it as just straight sincere. Like, because I think I would feel the same way. Like, okay, you're gonna give me a whole box of CDs that my fiance sent you. Like, I don't know. That feels weird. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, I mean, I could see I was expecting. I feel like she's someone who holds on to things for so long. I think she would have kept the CDs, but yeah, I do. And also, that was I enjoyed the part of the CDs. This little, just that little parts at the end of the book, at the end of the chapter or whatever.
I feel like when she had her fight with Elliot, she could have explained that so much better and like saved herself the trouble of the, I guess, call it the third act breakup, for lack of a better term. Because I was like, girl, you got something good going on here. Like, don't ruin it with
I don't think he wasn't really giving her the opportunity to explain. You know, he was just basically asking very direct questions and only wanted direct answers. And he was like, were you there? Were you at the house? Did you kiss him? Like, he wasn't really letting her, like...
Technically, he kissed her.
But she did kiss him back. And then she pushed him away. But, like, still... What? Oh, I feel like I missed the whole thing with Anna. So Anna was dating Elliot, and Anna was also his therapist?
Yes, that's what I understood.
Was that
which is
explicit?
why it was like, I was like, that's super inappropriate, but
Yeah,
okay.
it is inappropriate, but also, like, does that mean that Anna knew about Emmie if Elliot was in love with her the entire time?
Wait, say that again.
Okay, so if Elliot was Balloon Boy and he was in love with her the entire time and he felt like she was in love with his brother, I feel like that would have come up in therapy. So did Anna know about Emmie and how he felt about Emmie? Was that why she was such a bitch? Because she was a bitch. Like, the whole out of everybody in the character, she was such a bitch.
She was. And I feel like there was no explanation for her hostility at the beginning. But then we find out that he was in love with her. And I think that, yes, I think she knew. Maybe he didn't outright say. I find that so inappropriate to have the person that you're dating be your therapist. But yeah, I do believe that she knew, and that's why she was being rude and mean.
And then to, like, I mean, like, obviously they were at her house when the kiss happened, but, like, to run back and tell Elliot, like, she doesn't know what actually happened.
So I did get it wrong. I did miss the whole thing with the balloon. I knew that when I finished the book, I was like, I feel like I missed something big.
No, literally, I wasn't finished. I don't know where I was in the book, but I texted Kat and I was like, I need to know a spoiler. And I said, is Elliot Balloon Boy? I really want Elliot to be Balloon Boy. And Kat was like, no, it's Lucas.
I'm pretty sure, like, I missed, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Towards the end, I was just like, I just want to get this book over with. But when I finished, I was like, I missed something big, but I was like, I'm not interested enough to go back and find out.
No, I'm in the same boat as you, where I was just at a certain point, I was just like, I'm ready to be done.
I was waiting to hear that he was Balloon Boy, and then when Kat was like, no, it's Lucas, I was like, oh, well. And then I was like really looking for clues, and I was like, no, this is saying that he wants to be able to tell her in that 9th CD that Louise, what was her name?
Sorry, say that again.
Was it Louise? Was that her name? The lady she lived with that died?
I think so. This book also had a lot of characters, and I did not write that down.
It did have a lot of characters. I will say though, I was sad when she died, but then I was happy because I was like, girl, you've been written into the will.
Oh yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Oh.
I really liked her friends. Her friends, Rosie and Fox. I thought they were funny. I really liked the comedic relief. Did you guys expect Rosie and Fox to get together?
I mean, I liked that they were together. I don't know if I was really expecting anything.
So what's really funny is that I've been watching Schitt's Creek, and, like, for whatever reason, stuff that was happening in this book was, like, lining up with some of the episodes that I was watching. So, like, the way they were talking about Elliot and him being, like, a carpenter and, like, being all sexy, and, like, it was just funny because it was, like, also in the episodes that I was watching, and it was, like, confusing me, and I was like, wait, what does Elliot actually do? Because I guess he was supposed to be building like a booth for Rosie for her blogference. Is that what he was doing?
I don't remember. I don't know if Kat remembers.
I think that's what it was.
Because what was he going to be doing in Canada?
Wait, Elliot or Fox? Because Elliot had some sort of job opportunity. I don't remember.
But Rosie just kept telling her how hot he was.
I will say I disliked the whole ending. I feel like there was no ending for me personally to this book. There was no resolution to any of like the was there? Maybe
What do you mean?
There was another big thing. I don't know. I just feel like
so they kissed. Lucas and Emmie kissed, and then they weren't even going to talk about it. Then the wedding happened.
Right.
And she like danced with Elliot and they had a good time. And then afterwards, I guess he talked to Anna and he showed up at her house and was like, did this happen? Were you there? Did you see Lucas? And like, he was already kind of pissed at her because she was supposed to go to the thing with Rosie and him, and she flaked out to go rush to be with Lucas because he needed her. And so he was pissed about that, and then he found out about the kiss, and then he was just
I remember that.
He was just like, fuck all this shit. And so he left and went to Canada and like ignored her for mad long.
I remember that too. Right. Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, she was missing him the whole time. And
yes, because she's Detective Pines. Yes.
And that's when she found out that one, it was Lucas who had told Stacy what had happened at the party where they had that falling out when she was like 19, because that was a really big deal. She thought it was Elliot the whole time. And then that's when she started to realize that Lucas was a liar. And then I think, you know, after she saw the CD from Louise, that's when she realized that he was Balloon Boy. And he was just like off the grid for that whole time. And then eventually he came back and said that he really, really missed her and that they both needed the time apart. And she apologized and she said, I know that you're Balloon Boy. And that was the resolution. Basically acknowledging like, hey, I've been in love with you the whole time, but I thought you were somebody else.
Yeah, I hated that. It just ends there. I'm like, did they get married? Did they have babies? I need to know. No. This whole book is about unrequited love. She's pining over the brother and he's pining over her, and literally nothing gets resolved. Like, yeah, there's like kind of like an ambiguous ending at the end where it's like, oh, they're gonna live happy like ever after in our heads. No, I wanted to see it on paper, and it didn't happen. How many babies did they have eventually? Like I just needed something more, and it did not happen.
Well, you don't like those interpretive endings?
No, just tell me what happened. Don't make me imagine what happened. That's what I mean by like I feel like nothing got resolved at the end. I mean, yes, sort of. He gave us little clues that they are going to reconcile, but no. Give me a wedding.
Give me a wedding.
Give me a hot night or something. I don't know.
I feel like it was more about her though. Like, just her finally realizing that she wasn't powerless, and her finding family within, you know, her dad and their family, and then recognizing that Louise had left her the house, and then finally going after the job that she wanted and wanting to be there for other people who might have gone through the same thing that she went through.
Her letting go.
Yeah.
Especially of Lucas. Yeah.
I mean, but once you realize that the person you thought was somebody isn't them, I would imagine it's pretty easy to kind of move on after that.
Yeah. This is...
And it's funny that like she didn't recognize that Elliot was there, and Elliot kept showing up. Like, Elliot was constantly like coming to hang out and bring her stuff and hanging out with Louise, and Like, I feel like Louise had to be like, why do you like Lucas? He's never here. He doesn't come here. He doesn't like.
Louise knew
Yeah.
what was really going on.
Yeah. She did. She was a real one. I liked their whole relationship. Because obviously at the beginning of the story, Louise just had like a lot of walls up and a lot of barriers, and I like that she was able to break through those clearly enough for Louise to leave her the whole fucking apartment or house or whatever. How did I just put my water? Anyway. What do you, I mean, like, I just feel like her life in the beginning was pretty sucky, right? Like, you have this dad who you think is an absentee dad, and it turns out that he was trying to connect with her, but her mom wouldn't let that happen. So that already sucks. And then she goes on this wild goose chase and asks for help, and then the instructor ends up, I guess, sexually assaulting her. And it's also your best friend's dad. Like, so she loses her best friend. I don't know. Did you guys read the author's note?
No.
Well, the author was talking about how, like, they actually did a balloon release at her school, and someone found it like far away in France or whatever, and that was what inspired her to write the story. And I feel like as a child, I remember doing a balloon release. I'm glad we don't do it anymore because it's bad for the environment, but I think that's so cool to like send a message out into the ether and then have somebody like on the other side of the world find it.
Yeah, I've seen like the stories on the news about how someone many years later finds a message in a bottle.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Like, I would do that. A message in a bottle. Have you guys ever had pen pals?
Like, way back in elementary school, there was like an assignment. Like, I think the teacher used to work in like Germany or something like that. So she did a pen pal thing with her old class. But I mean, that was like 3rd grade, maybe.
Wow, 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no like language barriers?
I don't know. I still have the letters somewhere in one of my scrapbooks, but it was in English, so I think it's like a 90% no barrier.
Let me see. There was discussion questions in the back of the book.
I do want to like briefly mention that I'm glad that I can't remember his name, the dad, finally like said something to the wife, and then the wife ended up finding
finding her.
Yeah, I liked that because I was like, oh, she's welcoming her into the family and everything, so that was really nice. I thought the dad was kind of shitty for just like avoid. But I'm glad that she stood up for herself and said, like, I'm just not going to deal with it anymore. I don't have time for this.
Does your copy of the book have the discussion questions in the back? I had a copy from NetGalley, and then I had the other one from the library. The library version had it, but
mine doesn't even have an author's note. It just has the acknowledgments.
Yeah, I returned my copies to the library, so.
Yeah, my copy had an interview with the author, and then it had the discussion questions. Were you guys expecting Louise to die?
I mean, it kind of seemed inevitable. However, I didn't think it would be because of what they say it was stage 4 cancer.
Did they say what kind of cancer?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to go look if I can find it.
Were you guys expecting it to be Elliot? Like, I don't know. When I read the summary, I don't remember. I just don't remember it being a brothers thing.
I didn't really have a lot of like predictions, if that makes sense. I will say though, with because I listened to it with when I got to the epilogue, I was confused that I didn't know it was going to be a flashback, and I was really confused when they said the date and it was like 2004. I was like, has this been set that far back this whole time?
What was that point? What was the point of the epilogue?
I don't know, to finally give us some flashback to the freaking red balloon.
Or I was wondering if it was like meant to show you what Lucas was feeling at the time and how it was still something that helped him too, I guess, because he was so unhappy about them moving to wherever they had moved to. And even though it was like Elliot sending the CDs and like planning them out and stuff, like I guess it helped him be happy about the move and meeting a friend. Or but I mean, at that point I really didn't give a shit about Lucas. Like I didn't. Maybe it was to humanize him a little bit because he seemed like such a jerk for the majority of the book. I mean, he wasn't a bad person, but just a little self-absorbed and not into Emmie.
I found the discussion questions on Simon & Schuster's website, by the way. If you want to go over those.
Yeah, what do they say?
Okay. The first one says, Dear Emmie Blue begins with the 30th birthday celebration of the two main characters, Emmie and Lucas. Emmie believes that 30 is the age everyone is settled and knows who they are. Is that true? What did turning 30 symbolize for you?
I remember.
I don't think this is a question for Chloe.
The most recent one. You tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, since I was, I thought that growing up, I'd be like, oh, by 30, I'll be married, kids, and like, and then everything just like my 20s just changed all of that. I no longer want kids. Do I want to get married? Who knows? 30 is where I'm most settled in my life, I guess you could say, because I spent my 20s trying to discover what I wanted to do. Like I traveled a lot in my 20s, and in my 30s I got a career. I make good money. I bought a house. So it's, I guess you could say that 30 was the age where I settled down, but not necessarily in the ways that I thought I would be when I was in like way younger, like as a child or as a teenager.
How old are you going to be this year?
32.
I remember when I turned 30, I just immediately felt old. And I remember that, like, on my birthday, I went to Target to get anti-wrinkle cream. That was like what I did, because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna start like really aging. I need to start like using preventative now. Is how I felt. But I was already married, so um I think I got married at like 27, 26, 27. Um but I feel like I feel younger now than I did then, which doesn't really make any sense. But um but I think for like someone who was in her 30s, she was kind of immature. Like, I don't think, like, the reminder of her being 30 just makes me feel like she wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, if you're 30 and you think your best friend is just going to randomly propose to you, like, I don't know.
She was so delusional, like so delusional, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Like I don't did he give you, which leads us into the next question. You can feel Emmy's heartbreak when Lucas tells her he is getting married. Do you think she misread signals? Do you think Lucas led her on? How would you explain Lucas and Emmy's friendship throughout the years? Yes, she's misread. She has to have misread signals. I don't know if Lucas led her on necessarily. I think he might have, but I feel like unintentionally he may have.
Unintentionally, yeah, probably.
But she's very delulu. Like I don't. I think she misread. Like, how do you jump from a friendship to a proposal when knowing that your friend has a girlfriend already? Like I don't. That was.
I mean, or did she just think that he was going to be like, I broke up with Marie because I really wanted to be with you?
Will you like in some grand gesture? Will you marry me? Not a more realistic. Let's see where this goes kind of thing. But I also think that being 30, like turning 30, and the fact that she hasn't settled down probably also fed into her delusion. Okay. Emmie is afraid that when Luca gets married, everything will change. Does marriage change friendship when one friend is single and the other is married or in a committed relationship? How does that dynamic of friendship shift?
I mean, I think absolutely. I know that I feel like John and I have this conversation kind of often, because some of his friends just want him to be staying up like super late playing games, and they're just like they're single people that can do whatever they want on the weekends or whatever. They don't have like a family, they don't have like the same responsibilities. And I feel like when you get married, it's important to have friends who are also married who understand the dynamic. Not that you wouldn't be friends with single people, but it's completely different. I feel like even if like you're just a married couple and then you have a married couple who has kids, like even that dynamic is different. They're just gonna have different priorities and behave differently. And then I feel like a lot of people, when they are in a relationship, they kind of isolate. Like, I feel like I know so many people, so many friends who, when they're in a relationship, they just disappear off the face of the earth. Like, I never see them again until they're single again. Not that that's good or healthy, but I feel like a lot of people do that. And
Chloe, do you have anything to say? She's just like staring.
I mean, I'm kind of like thinking about like, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like, so like for me, like for like the three of us, I mean, we're a little different because we live farther apart, but you and I are married. Kat's not, but you have a kid. However, he's an adult. So you're kind of at the point where you can do whatever you want. And then Kat and I can do whatever we want. But like in my work friend group, I'm the only one who doesn't have kids. And one, it has like a 13 and a 7-year-old, and for the most part, self-sufficient. One has a 6-year-old, or maybe she's 7, but not as self-sufficient. And one is about to have a baby. So I don't really know how the dynamic is going to change, especially after the one has the baby. So I don't really have an input on it right now because I'm waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. I feel like also a baby changes a lot more. It's a lot different than when you have a lot like children that are even a 7-year-old slightly more grown. So but yeah, absolutely getting married, and if the two friends are, if one is married, one is not, it's absolutely the dynamic changes, because the married person has to think of their married partner, their family, their children. As a single person, you don't necessarily have to. It's like you said, John has friends who want to stay up all night and play, and they don't have to worry about, hey, I have a partner who's with me, and I have to also take her into consideration on my decisions. Whereas single people, no, you generally have only to consider yourself most of the time. So. The next one is talking about Anna. Why is she so cruel and dismissive of Emmie? Do you think she's jealous and threatened by Emmie's friendship with Elliot? How would you explain Anna and Elliot's relationship, knowing she was once his therapist? I don't like Anna. I think it's highly inappropriate. I don't know. I feel like that's a boundary you don't cross.
The vibe is weird.
Yeah.
I think what's even weirder though is that, and not that therapists don't have their own problems, because they do, but you would think that someone who has studied psychology and understand how things work would be more understanding of the situation and less reactive about it. Like, it seemed like, she had the worst reaction and was just the nastiest. Like, she's just not a good person. I don't know. Maybe I am giving therapists too much credit, but I feel like therapists should be better people because they've kind of done some of the introspective work to be a little bit more self-aware.
And I don't know. I feel like there's a reason you go to therapists as opposed to, for example, a loved one, because you tell your therapist things that maybe necessarily you can't tell your loved one. And once your therapist becomes your loved one, it's just like, it's a line that's a weird line to cross. And I don't know.
And they're supposed to be kind of like a third party, like outside perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like once you become involved in your patient's life, it's just weird, and I find it so inappropriate. And yes, absolutely, she was jealous of Emmie. I do think that she was cruel to her because I think she knew Elliot's feelings for her.
I started reading another book that is a nonfiction book, but it's written by a therapist, and the therapist was talking about how much she hates accidentally bumping into her clients or her patients, like at the grocery store or whatever, that it's just so awkward and uncomfortable. So the fact that Anna was just like, hey, let's be in a relationship.
Yeah, because it's you're seeing them outside of a professional environment. And so, yeah.
I mean, they never said, but I would assume that when they started dating, maybe she wasn't treating him anymore.
I don't know. I also don't know how, did they say how long she was his therapist? Yeah. Like, if it was like a month, that's one thing. If it's been years and he told her things,
everything, yeah,
that's just weird. That's weird. Okay. The next one says, Emmy's mother appears not to be so maternal towards Emmie and very unconcerned about her feelings. With this in mind, how does it affect Emily's relationship with Lucas and his family? Do you think this impacts Emmy's relationship with Louise?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's part of the reason why she latched on to Lucas and Elliot, because like they kind of, I don't know, they came as a pair. They were already family, and then she became friends with them, and I think they just kind of like adopted her a little bit. And I know it was a little bit more difficult with Louise, but she also formed a bond there, so it's kind of like found family in both instances.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like also when your own family, the one that you were born with, doesn't give you the kind of love that a family should give you, you sort of try to find it somewhere else, and I feel like she did find it in other somewhere else. So okay, what do you think was the reason behind Emmy's mother not revealing the identity of Emmy's biological father? Do you think she was embarrassed? Emmy's mother tells her, you wanting to find him tells me you're not content with the parent you have. Does this make her mother selfish?
Yes.
I feel like her mom was pretty douchey.
Especially because she was using an ultimatum of like, if you do this, then I'm not going to be in your life anymore. And I'm like, excuse me?
For me, it's yes and no. I would want to know the reason why my mother, if it was my mother, I would want to know the reason why my mother was so against me trying to find out who my parent. If he was her rapist and I was the product of a rape child, then I would understand. But I would need to know why. Like, you can't just dismiss me. And I feel like, yes, she did dismiss her by being like, you go find him, you don't talk to me anymore. That's like, no, just tell me. You have to give me a reason for your reaction. You can't just dismiss me like that.
But I feel like it was a similar situation to the summer plays,
where it was messy.
Where like, what was the situation with that again? Did he like, he went home? Was he in a relationship? I think he was in a relationship, wasn't he?
I don't remember. That's why I said remind me.
He went to the bar. He went to the bar and he like thought he picked up a hooker, but
yeah.
And she was wasn't she already pregnant?
Oh yes. Yeah. But yeah, I think selfish, yes, a little bit, but only because you won't tell me the reason, not necessarily that you won't tell me the identity. And I feel like as children, we want to. If I was adopted, I would want to know. I feel like, I mean, there are adopted children who don't want to know who their biological parents are, but there are many who do. You kind of want to know where you come from. You kind of want to know what kind of person your parents were. So to not give the child that option, yeah, that is definitely selfish. M7, Emmie asks, do you ever feel like everyone has it figured out and you don't? How would you answer her question? Have you felt this way before? Yeah. I feel like everybody has it figured out. More than me.
Can you repeat the question?
7 says, Emmie asks, do you ever feel like everyone has it figured out, but you don't? How would you answer her question? Have you ever felt this way before?
Yeah, I feel like, maybe not everyone has it figured out. Like, there's always going to be somebody who's in a worse situation than you. But I mean, yeah, I feel like if you could look at some people and say, yeah, they've got it all figured out. Kat, you've got it all figured out.
I actually feel that you have it all figured out. I was about to say, I was like, this is Chloe. She is the person that has it everything figured out. Chloe, you have a plan. You're the planner.
So?
See?
You have a career.
So,
I mean, granted, mine can be a career too, but
you do too. And Desiree, you haven't figured out, but you just have too much in your figure outness. You know, you have too much.
I don't know. I don't think I feel like the feeling that I've felt more is kind of feeling like I'm not the adult in the room. Especially after like my mom passed away and then my godfather passed away, it just felt like there was nobody, like there was nobody above me, you know, to like look for guidance or help or advice or anything. And that's kind of like a weird feeling. Like even though I'm going to be 45, I still don't feel like an adult.
Yeah. Same. Because and for me, like, people are always like, especially my sister annoys the hell out of me. It's like, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have kids? I'm like, first off, I don't want kids. I don't think I want kids. I'm like 99% sure I don't want kids. And if I get married, it's just gonna happen. But when she asked that, that's always in the back of my mind. I'm like, am I not an adult if I don't get married and if I don't have kids? It's like in her eyes, is my life so incomplete? Am I still a child in her mind because I don't have a man beside me and I don't have little ones next to me? You know what I mean? I certainly don't feel like I've accepted that I don't want to go the route that she does. But at the same time, there is like she's always that person to be like, oh, you're gonna regret it, because my sister's always been the one that wants a big family. You know, she wants to have as many kids as she can, and she wants that chaos in her life, and I don't. So as it's hard to explain to someone like her who has this mentality of what an adult is and what a fulfilled life is and what a settled life is. And it's hard to like explain to people like that. It's like there's all sorts of people in the world and there's all sorts of what people see as fulfilling. And children are not it, especially. And I tell her all the time, you are the reason I don't want to have kids. You are 100% the reason why I don't want to have kids. So,
and you you didn't even have that like phase of moving out into like a small apartment or with roommates or anything.
Yeah.
You just went from like living at home, house.
But yeah, so anyway, I don't remember what the question was. But yeah.
It was about feeling like other people have it figured out.
Yeah, it's like, do I know where my life is heading this way? Like, I don't know. I think I want to get back into more traveling that I used to do when I was in my 20s. But I also, like, being an adult, you also realize that you have bills to pay. That, you know, in my 20s, I didn't have as many bills to pay. Now I have, you know, you have a mortgage, you have car payments, blah, blah, blah. So you also feel like you have to be responsible in that area. But yeah. The next question is, how does Emmie and Louise's relationship evolve? Why is Louise so invested in Emmie's life? Why does Louise finally tell her about Martha?
I mean, I feel like I don't think anybody wants to die alone or feeling lonely. So, you know, she was just kind of allowing that connection to happen, knowing that she was going to pass away, I guess.
Yeah.
I think maybe she saw Emmie as like more of like a daughter figure and felt like she could share that.
Emmie believes that her mother stopped her from being loved and made her lonely. Is this true? How do you think her life would have changed if Emmie had a father figure in her life?
Well, I think firstly, if she did have a father figure, then she wouldn't have been looking for him, and that thing with the teacher might not have happened. Not that I would necessarily say that like that's the mom's fault, but I don't know. I feel like parents
I
that
feel like she wouldn't have been
kids,
so desperate for like male figure love in her life. I feel like she was desperate. I think that's also what part
why
of
she was
what
so delusional. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Um, but yeah. So do I blame her mother for 100% of that? No, but I feel like it did definitely contribute.
So, yeah. Same.
Emmy's friend Rose asks if she loves Lucas or just the idea of him. Discuss looking back at their relationship. Why is Emmie so drawn to Lucas? What does Lucas represent to her?
The idea of him. She was delusional.
Well, I still think like she was in love with a person. It just wasn't. Oh my god!
Sorry.
My thing fell. Sorry. Go ahead.
So she was in love with a person. It just wasn't Lucas. Like she thought it was Lucas, but it wasn't Lucas because the person was Elliot. Like I still feel like that was a real genuine love that she felt, based on information she thought she had. It was just placed on the wrong person.
So did she love Balloon Boy
Yes,
because he was Lucas, or did she love Lucas because he was Balloon Boy?
that she believed that Lucas was Balloon Boy, and that's why.
So therefore she loved him. So yeah. Yeah. So wait. Yeah. I hope this girl needs therapy, and hopefully a professional therapist, not what Lucas or Elliot got.
I also feel like Elliot was a saint because he wanted his brother to have a best friend and to feel better about like moving and being lonely, um and so he tried to help his brother get the girl, kind of like. I think that's how it started. um but then he also didn't want Emmie to lose her best friend, so he took the fall for that whole situation with Stacy. Like he could have been like, no, it wasn't me, it was Lucas, but he didn't want her to lose her best friend because he loved her so much. Like, I don't know. That's some genuine shit, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay. Second to last question. Dear Emmie Blue proves that you always find love where you least expect it. Why do you think people continue to have such a romanticized idea of love? Would you call Emmie a hopeless romantic? A hopeless romantic? I'm not sure.
She's not a hopeless romantic. I think she was just in love with the idea of who she thought Lucas was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last question. It is revealed that Emmie experienced sexual assault, which caused her to release the message into the sky. How does a childhood trauma like this affect her relationship with others later in life? Does this explain Emmie's behavior and relationship with Lucas and her mother? I mean, how does a childhood trauma affect a relationship with others? I mean, she's always, especially the kind of trauma that she had, I feel like it worsened her ability to see. So I feel like that also contributed to her delusion.
I think it really impacted her self-esteem.
Yeah.
And like her self-worth. And then the fact that not only that it happened, but that nobody believed her, is also like, you know, the way it was painted was that she did something bad, and that's
Unfortunately, a lot of women go through that. But yeah. Yeah, and that was the last question.
I apparently have another book by this author, and I don't know. I enjoyed this one, and so I'm kind of excited to check out some of her other books. And then at the end of the library book that I had was like a preview of one of the books, and I read the preview and I was enjoying that. So I will likely read more by this author.
Is that your final thoughts?
Yeah, I still give it a 4.
I thought this book was okay. I think I'm gonna keep my 3-star rating. Obviously, I did have struggle getting through this book. I was very bored with it towards the middle and end, and I feel like I didn't really connect with any of the characters. I did like the growth that our main character experienced with her, as we talked about, her starting as very immature and delusional and thinking that by 30 she should have all the answers to her life, and her slowly going through all these things and exploring things that have happened to her and finding out the truth of certain things. And I do like how she matured throughout the book, so I did like her as a main character, but I will keep my star rating at 3. And will I read other books by this author? Yes, I will. I will consider reading this.
I am mostly in the same boat as Kat was. Like, I did find myself bored for the middle on. I gave it 2.5 stars, which I didn't really feel like a full 3, nor did I feel like a 2. So I'm kind of meeting in the middle with that one. I don't know if I would pick anything else up by this author. I think it would depend on what the book's about, etc. Because with this one, you know, I felt like I was going to enjoy it more, and I didn't. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with my 2.5 star rating. So for next month, we are going to be reading.
I can't see.
Find the spot, Desiree. Find the spot, because I don't remember what the book is.
If he had been with me.
Who is it by? Laura Nolan.
Yeah.
So we're going to be reading If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. As we're talking about this, I realize we don't actually have a book club date yet because we're doing our retreat over the weekend that we would be. So book club date to be determined. But you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Booktube Chicks for all the information regarding that. I will be posting it closer to the 1st of August. So we will to be determined on the book club date. Kat, do you know when we have Pages and Pals off the top of your head?
The 15th.
We have Pages and Pals. Oh, yes, because we moved it. I was like, why are we doing it on a Thursday? We were doing Pages and Pals, which is a monthly live read-in over on Kat's channel on August 15th at 8 p.m. Or did we say it is 8, right?
I think we moved it to 7.
At 7 p.m. We're not going to be reading anything specific. We just come and enjoy an hour of quiet reading time with friends. And then if anybody is a romance reader, Desiree and I are reading Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto for the Quarterly Romance Book Club. And our live show is actually a week from today on August 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern over on Desiree's channel. Both Desiree and Kat's channel are linked in the description below. So hopefully you will be joining us at either Pages and Pals, the If He Had Been With Me live discussion, or the Not Another Love Song discussion. But thank you all so much for joining us for July Book Club, and we will see you all next month. Bye.